Well, I screwed that up. I forgot to turn on the mic, so let's try this again. Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to the world of gaming, this time with audio. So, yeah, we're gonna have an awesome show here today. Great to see a lot of familiar names already in the chat. Welcome to you guys, but also, of course, welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on the podcast services around the globe. And let me welcome the man who got permanently banned from Twitter. Wondering, Dutch, how you doing, my man?
Hello, sir. Yes, permanently banned, and then had to restart from scratch.
Yeah,
and we just keep getting Twitter bots replying instead of a manual process. So that could take some months to recover.
you think you will ever be able to recover your account?
I have no idea. You never know. Maybe it's one day.
It kind of sucks, man. That kind of sucks.
That's a long-standing account with a lot of contacts on it. That's took a lot of time to build up. It infuriated us. But hey ho, we start again.
Yeah, man, you will be able to regain at least most of your followers eventually. I have no doubt. It kind of sucks. I've seen a lot of people having issues with Twitter lately. You're not the only one who lost their account for unknown reasons, man. I don't know what's going on with Elon. It is what it is. But yeah, guys, in the chat, let everyone know that Dutch has a new Twitter account. That would be absolutely awesome. Help him boost the new account again. I know you try to follow back everyone, but it's kind of hard because there's a follow back limit.
And the message limit. I can't even message you guys half the time.
Yeah. Man, what I realized is that most of my gaming contacts are actually through Twitter. So if I would lose that, I wouldn't be able to get in touch with most of you. I mean, you have my phone number. Yeah, I can contact you via WhatsApp. I have a few others, of course, Gas and a couple of others. But most people I would only be able to contact through Twitter. So that's we would kind of have to find a different way. I know we have the Discord, of course. By the way, if anyone wants to join our Discord, it's open for everyone. It's not a locked secret room or something. So if you guys wanna join the Discord, you can do so. Maybe I will just drop a link to the Discord in there. And see, I wanted to open up Discord right now, and it's installing 15 updates. What a mess. What a mess. Nice. So I will do that in a second. So, but that's not why we're here, Dutch. That's not why we are here. We are here to talk about games and everything that happened in gaming this week. And there has been quite some news this week. So we have a lot, and I mean really a lot of topics here on the list. But first, of course, I want to know from everyone in the chat, and of course from you, Dutch, what have you guys been playing?
Yes, so this week I've been playing some Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Nice.
On PC.
It's always a good one.
Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate on PC, and I've been playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart on PC, which dropped yesterday.
Nice.
And you can see it kind of in the background there. That's running on PC on a hard drive, which we'll get into.
Mm-hmm. We will talk about that a little later in the show. Absolutely.
Yeah. But very pretty game. It's got a lot of scalability. There's a lot of choice in there. But I expected no less from Ratchet and Clank. The previous one was a beautiful looking game as well. And obviously, I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, so picking it up on PC was great.
Nice.
And I got it pretty cheap on CD keys.
Sweet. It's a full price game. regular. If you buy,
35.
nice. That's a good one. That's a good price. Is
Yeah.
it like regularly priced on Steam or?
No, it's like I think it's like 60 or something on Steam.
Okay. Okay.
I got it for 35 on CD keys. So woohoo!
Woo.
Same with Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrated, which is still full priced on Steam, but I managed to get that for 32 or something as well.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
So yeah, it's been good though. It's been good. I've just been tweaking with them, and I found I have a USB port issue on my DualSense, which is great considering I've barely used it. So
Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks. I had that too with my first PS5 controller that came with the console. And I'm not using the PS5 as much, so I would have thought it lasts longer. But after less than a year, it was like 10 months or so after I got the console, I had to trade in the controller. Luckily, it was warranty, so
yeah.
That shouldn't happen. Obviously. So what are people in the chat are playing? A 1970 Chrome Pony is playing Animal Crossing and Skyrim on the Switch. You can never go wrong with Skyrim, man. That's for sure. No. Getting yourself ready, man, for Starfield with some Bethesda action. Nice. Siki is having problems with Rocket League, so he can't play. His Epic account got hacked. But that sucks, by the way. And he's playing Fortnite and Halo Infinite, which is cool. And Dave Mack confirmed it's $50 on Steam for Ratchet. That's cool. Tom from Toonami is playing Oblivion and modded Skyrim until Starfield drops. Oh, and man, the mods are crazy with Skyrim. Even on consoles, you can do crazy shit with it. It's fantastic. Man, I hope they bring mods to console for Starfield soon. And even better because they still have the 5 GB mod limit on console. And they kind of need to get rid of that, man.
Yep.
Absolutely good stuff there. Tony is playing Halo and Diablo fan. He's just counting down the days for Starfield and Forza. Aren't we all? Especially with Starfield. I cannot wait, man. It's so close, and we have some news on Starfield, and we will definitely talk about that a little later in the show. So good stuff here in the chat. So yeah, what have I been playing, Dutch? Of course, Diablo. I just can't put the damn game down. It's so good, even with all the shit that they did with patch 1.1. My sorcerer, which is my eternal character, it just doesn't feel right anymore. It sucks so much. I was able, when they dropped the patch, I was level, I want to say 67, 68 or so. And I was easily able to beat Nightmare Dungeons 25, 26 solo, like within 10 minutes or so. And now I have no chance to even beat a level 20 or 21 dungeon solo. That's how bad they nerfed the sorcerer. But they promised the patch 1.1.1 is coming soon. And with that, it's getting buffed. And so I decided to start season 1. I actually have some footage here from season 1.
Nice.
I started the season 1 as sorcerer. As a necromancer, and I'm really enjoying that character. And I really do enjoy season 1. They added some cool stuff to that. There's a new story mode. Granted, the story is not like as epic as it is in the main game, but it's still fun. They added some cool new mechanics, cool new skills that you can use now to maximize even more your character out. And I'm now in my seasonal character 35 or something, and I'm having a blast with it. It kind of sucks that I know that this character will be deleted as soon as season 1 is over. So I will definitely try to finish the story in season 1, and then by then hopefully they have dropped patch 1.1.1 and I can go back to playing my sorcerer and max that out. But yeah, I'm still having a blast with the game. Other than that, I have not been playing much, honestly. It was kind of a busy week. Yeah, it was my birthday on Tuesday. I am having
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, turned 40. The big 4-0.
Old man.
Kind of, it doesn't bother me that I'm 40. I don't have a problem with 40, but what hit me is like, oh, the next big milestone is 50,
Yes.
Now you're walking towards the 50. That's kind of... But yeah, I'm having a big party on Saturday. More than 70 guests are coming. Had to prepare a lot of things, and there was not really much time to game. I played a little bit more of Benedict Fox, though, on the Iraq Ally. And it is just a fantastic game, man. It's so much fun. Especially the combat. I really enjoy that. It's fantastic. It's a real cool little game. A lot of people in the chat I see have been playing Remnant.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I wish I had time for another big game like that, but I don't. Which is why I'm kind of glad that I'm playing like Ratchet, which is pretty small.
Yeah, you can beat Ratchet in 12 to 15 hours. That's true. Remnant does look Remnant 2 really does look good, though. I have to admit that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's what it is. But so good stuff there. Good stuff. Dutch, I think it's time to get into some topics, and people have been DMing me. They want to see the jingles come back. So we're gonna, before we move over to the news, we're gonna play the jingle. All right, the jingles are back, and with that, of course, we will get into some topics, and the first one, Dutch, the very first one I want to talk to you about is something really weird. And I'm kind of glad I didn't see UK Desirous already in the chat, because I know what he would bring up for that. But Xbox has brought out or released the first pizza-scented controller. Yeah, the thing is Turtles themed, and there is a pizza-scented controller. Man, what do you think? Do we need something like that?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not just a pizza themed controller. It smells of pizza.
It smells. It's scented. It's a scented controller. Yeah. Man, can you imagine playing the game and then after that all your hands smell like pizza or whatever other scent they will come up in the future? It's kind of weird, man.
Kind of. It's an understatement, Bobsy. It's an understatement. It's very weird.
So what do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. Do we need more scented controllers? I don't know. And I've seen quite a lot of people on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, that Xbox should just rather focus on bringing out games before we get more controllers. But yeah, no, it's definitely something we don't need. So let's move on to an actual topic, and that is a big acquisition happening, man. I'm still kind of torn, but Tencent actually acquired the major shareholding of Techland, makers of the Dying Light series, and Dying Light was one of my favorite games of last year. absolutely loved that game. I think it's phenomenal. But yeah, now Tencent got the major shareholding of Techland, and I don't know how to feel about that. We know that they are working also on a new RPG with a new IP, apparently third person, and that's now in Tencent's hand. How are you feeling about this, man?
It's hard to know, really, because we haven't seen, and I don't think we will see for a while, the true intentions of these conglomerates. Because unlike platform holders like Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft, you're pretty much guaranteed for certain things to happen. You're either guaranteed that games will become exclusive and go onto just that platform, or you'll guarantee more first party games and guarantee more games at a higher quality. What you can't predict is with any of these conglomerates that don't have a platform of their own, is to what level of investment they're going to put in after acquisition.
Yeah,
it's a bit different with the gaming sector, like Microsoft, or sorry, like Xbox or like PlayStation or Nintendo. They're solely focused on investing in their studios to make games, but the likes of Tencent, etc., aren't, because they're that big of a company. They own many different things, so their investments go to far different avenues than just gaming. So it's hard to predict.
It's like similar with the Embracer Group. Yeah.
That's why I don't get when people kept on saying Xbox or Sony should buy Embracer. That doesn't make any sense, because the vast majority of Embracer Group has nothing to do with gaming.
yeah, exactly. They are invested in all kinds of businesses.
They've got like out of I think it's something like 800 businesses Embracer Group has. I think about maybe 15 to 20 are gaming related.
I mean, they do have a lot more studios than 20, but I do know what you mean, like the individual groups that manage the studios and so on. Yeah. And so with Tencent, you see, with Embracer, we have no idea what Embracer's endgame is. For the first time ever, they got like major AAA studios when they bought studios like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and those studios from Square. They've entered the AAA market for the first time. But even with those studios and the smaller studios that they bought, they never kind of interfered with them, at least not to our knowledge, to the public knowledge. It wasn't really noticeable. Even when we look at Crystal, they are working close with Xbox, on Tomb Raider, on Perfect Dark, and they still have Tomb Raider in the making. So it kind of looks like they are not interfering there as much. Now, when we look at Tencent, I really have to think very, very hard of a studio from Tencent that is not making like free-to-play microtransaction-based games. From the top of my head, I cannot think of one studio. They turned every studio they bought into those free-to-play, either browser-based games, mobile games, and of course PC and console-based games. But they all like based on microtransactions and stuff. So I was not really happy to read that. I know that Techland does have some financial struggles. We know Dying Light 2 didn't perform as well as they hoped. And it's getting more and more expensive as an independent studio to get funding for those AAA games. They simply take a few years longer in this day and age to make, and you kind of have to have the funding to actually afford that. So on that side, it's kind of good that an investor came in, bought them, giving them funding, more in the financial independent freedom. But Tencent is not the company to just fund games. they are like changing studios, changing their directions, and given how good Techland actually is, I'm a little worried, man, that they kind of screw up that awesome studio. Yeah, it's.
Yep.
I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. But man, I want a proper Dying Light 3, and I want them to their new IP to be just as good as the Dying Light games are. So, damn it, man. Wrong studio, wrong publisher to buy them. Yeah. And that's the thing with Xbox, man. I've been saying that to you, if you remember. Like,
Yep.
it's acquisition season all over the industry. Everyone. Sony has bought like 10 plus studios over the last 18 months. Smaller and bigger ones. Yeah. From Bungie to like studios we've never heard before, but they are buying left and right. And Xbox is so caught up in this ABK deal, they miss out on these. They missed out on Crystal and Eidos. They missed out on Techland, obviously now. I sure hope that ABK is over soon and they will go back to not acquiring publishers, but those studios that make actually the games that I'm excited for. So yeah, I know. I'm not excited.
A lot of people need to. That's the thing. A lot of people need to kind of think of here as well, and we've said it all along. Is we're not advocating, especially we're not advocating for consolidation, but what we are advocating for is I'd much rather it be in the hands of Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft than I am under either Embracer or Tencent. I'd much rather it be in the hands of qualified, seasoned gaming companies than a conglomerate that has only just come into even in Amazon. We've seen what happened there. If you have a look at even the likes of Google, what happened there, they acquired studios and then not even a year later, completely stopped everything.
Yeah.
Just closed it all down. So you just don't want to end up in that situation. You don't. And I don't want the industry to end up in that situation. So if it's a case of the big three control the vast majority, then so be it. If it means that the likes of a Tencent or an Embracer that haven't got the credentials to work within the gaming industry and end up just shutting down projects or negatively impacting on studios to that degree where they change their entire direction, then I'd much rather the big three have them.
I do agree. I totally do agree. So yeah, let's see how this will turn out with Tencent, and how Techland will develop themselves under them. I see a lot of people in the chat highlight how good September will be for Game Pass with Starfield, with Lies of P, and with Payday 3, all coming day one to Game Pass. That's so true. It's so true. I fear a little for Lies of P because that game actually looks fantastic, and it will have stand no chance against Starfield. It just won't.
I mean, the Souls guys will be playing it, no doubt, but I mean,
yeah,
still a very niche community.
It's a niche. It is. I mean, yeah, I know people will bring up Elden Ring, but Lies of P is no Elden Ring.
Yeah, Elden Ring was an outlier.
Yeah, I think Lies of P, would have done themselves a favor to just delay the game at least a month or so. Go for October, mid-October release, when the initial Starfield hype, kind of goes down a little bit after 4, 5, 6 weeks when the game is out. I know people will. I will still be playing the game, but yeah, Game Pass, man. Game Pass is gonna be absolutely on fire for the rest of the year. We got Forza coming in October. There's really a lot of bigger games to play in Game Pass.
Oh yeah,
which is fantastic. And Starfield, yeah, man. I'm Cannot wait to talk about it later. It's gonna be awesome. But I want to start actually with something else Xbox related, man. The new dashboard has rolled out. Have you already got it?
I've already got it on the X, but the S, no. So Series X, I've had it for about a month and a half, 2 months. The Series S, I haven't got it at all, and it's not even prompting a download. So I'm guessing I've got a few days to wait yet until the S gets it. But yeah, the Series X, yeah, I've had it for a while now, about 2 months.
So you're in the alpha inside the program.
In the beta, I think it is.
You're in the beta ring.
Yeah.
After my Series X died twice on me already, and I had to send in the console already twice, I'm not risking anything. I think I have a lemon. You know, it's kind of weird with my Series X, but I want to know from everyone in the chat how you guys like it. I will put up a poll. So get in there and vote. I actually got it earlier today, toyed around a little bit with it, and I must say I do like it a lot. It is the best Xbox dashboard they've had in a long time. I still remember the 360 one. I think it was the second one that we got on the 360, where you had, when you opened up your digital game library, and they had that awesome 3D effect, you know, when you were browsing through your library. I still, that's the best they've ever had, man. But this one, it looks really clean. I really do like that when you move over the different games, that the background actually changes to the game art. I think that's a nice touch. I know PlayStation has had that ever since the PS5 came out, but it really does look fantastic. It's smooth, it's fast, it looks cleaner, looks more modern. I only have one complaint. I don't know about you, but I still don't like the ads, the advertisements on my dashboard. I don't think that they belong in there. No other console platform holder has those. You know, when I open my Nintendo Switch dashboard, I don't see ads for a Netflix TV series. I just don't want to see that. And it's not that it's like a free thing, you know. We pay for the console, we pay for Gold, or now it's like Game Pass Core, and we pay for Game Pass Ultimate and everything. And so I want to keep my dashboard clean and without those ads. That's the one tiny nitpick I still have. But other than that, I really do enjoy it. How about you, man?
Yeah. I mean, it's aside from the ads, it is far cleaner, which is good. You can see a little bit more of the background, which is always a great thing. Specifically the dynamic ones. I had a lot of dynamic backgrounds you couldn't see. It was literally pointless. You couldn't see anything of them. Now you can actually see them a bit. And again, I make dashboard backgrounds all the time, so it's going to make my job easier as well to make nice, new, fancy dashboard backgrounds for any new game that's coming out. So if you've got any backgrounds you want created, of course, not dynamic because they don't allow you to make those yet. Although I would hope in the future you can. But even just stationary backgrounds you want for your Xbox of any variety, I'm happy to make them. But it's much cleaner. It's much nicer. I like the little kind of semi-transparent kind of symbols at the top of the dash as well. That's a nice touch.
Yes, absolutely. So overall, I think they've done a good job. Let's see how our community. Man, I'm having problems talking. I'm gonna close the poll in just a second to see what the community thinks of this. We always have to kind of, stall a little because of the delay from OBS to YouTube. So, I think we're good. We can close it, and see. 64% said it's fantastic. 23% said it still needs improvement, and 11% don't like it. So the vast majority likes it. Obviously, some room for improvements yet, but overall, it's a great thing. And it's kind of weird, Dutch. What is going on with that? When you think about the last console generations, during the 360 days, I think we had across the entire gen, like, I want to say at least 4 different kind of dashboards. And even during the Xbox One era, we also had like 3 or 4 different ones.
Yeah.
I mean, this is cool, but it's not kind of new. It's just like a refinement of what we already had. But do you see Xbox like do a complete new thing? You know, when the Xbox One launched, we had those big tile thing that kind of looked like Windows Phone, you know? And then eventually they introduced the guide that we have today and changed everything to basically what we have today. Of course, not exactly. They've refined that a little over time, but the current dashboard, we have that more or less since the mid of the Xbox One generation. So do you think they will eventually change that and like do something entirely new again?
Probably at some point. They've had many iterations over the years, so I wouldn't put it past them on creating something like that or doing something new again. What about you?
I don't think so. I think it's kind of hard to find the sweet spot in between. How can people navigate fast to what they want to do? Browse the game library, go to the store, and you can do all those things now with maximum 2 clicks, you know, and you kind of can't go back from that. It's not like if you bring out a new dashboard and just because of a new look, people would be happy if they need like 5 clicks to get to their game library. So I think with the guide that they have now, they made navigation really, really fast and easy. And honestly, I don't see them focusing on that kind of experience right now, because making an entirely new dashboard is like a lot of work. Yeah, it's different than just the upgrade that we just got. Yeah, it's like a lot of things go into that. So I don't see that happening. But honestly, do we really care? We don't play the dashboard, we play the games, you know?
Yeah.
So the one thing I would say though, this is the one thing that I probably want even more than them removing the ads, because I'm used to the ads by now. They have them like for like 15 years now on the dashboard. I'm used to it. Is that the dashboard is actually in HDR, because this handover when you start a game or go out of a game back to the dashboard and then back into the game, it just kind of is annoying. You know, TV going dark for 1 or 2 seconds for the handshake. I don't want that. I don't like that. So that's the one thing, HDR on the dashboard. But it takes up a little bit more RAM. So, and as soon as you take that away, developers can't use that. So, but still, I kind of want that. So, let's stay on Xbox for a second, man. There have been some major changes besides the new dashboard that we just got. 1,400 retro games can now be played on Xbox. Endstream Arcade are bringing an entire library. It's 1,470 games. There are more than 200 Amiga games, 300 different arcade games, 350 different C64 games, man, Mega Drive games, SNES games, ZX Spectrum games, and a lot more is coming to that. And Antstream actually credited Phil Spencer for that he personally helped them bring that service to Xbox. They really highlighted that without his help, this would have not been possible, and that he played a large role in bringing that. And I just must say I wanted to discuss that with you because Xbox has been doing a lot for game preservation. They've been the first one to properly introduce backwards compatibility to consoles. I know the initial PS3, for instance, the model they sold within the first year was able to actually play PS2 games, but they kind of got rid of that with an iteration of the console, and it was never to the same degree like Xbox did it. They introduced it in 2015, I want to say. And now, we can play games from the OG Xbox era, 360 era, Xbox One era, and all of that enhanced 16 times anisotropic filtering. We have HDR, auto HDR, FPS boost, all that wizardry that they put on in the backward compatibility program. And now bringing like 1,400 retro games to the console to be able to be played on Xbox. I think that's just phenomenal, man. What other company out there does this kind of stuff for game preservation? And even though I probably won't be playing the 1,400 games, it's kind of, I really do like that I have the chance now. I will definitely browse through the Amiga library and just get my, nostalgia feeling. Probably some Super Nintendo games, Mega Drive. I will definitely have a look on that. I think it's fantastic, man, and I definitely want to credit Xbox for doing that because, again, we kind of in this world where we go all digital and it becomes even harder to play retro games. I know you still can do that. You can go out there. I still have a Super Nintendo here, which is fantastic, but I really can't plug it into my TV anymore. You know what I mean? And then, of course, you have to. It's not technically impossible. There are these little adapters you can get and everything, but it's a hassle. And in an age where we move more and more towards digital, I so appreciate that they bring those the history of gaming, man. That they do try to preserve that. So I've been going on for way too long on this. What are your thoughts, man?
Game preservation is obviously really key. The more we get into things like DRM to prevent piracy or help protect against piracy, which is part of what DRM is when it becomes a little bit difficult at times. And when you're talking about game preservation on Xbox, it's kind of like the opposite. Like they're trying to bring back all the games that you've got in your library and then give them a new lease of life, or allow them to run in the first place. And that's not just a case of these games sometimes can't run, but sometimes it's all about the rights that they've got to go out and find again, and maybe even renegotiate with some of these older titles that are no longer on the store, or no longer purchasable. So it's a bit of a different kind of work that people don't understand with certain types of game preservation. So I think it's key that Microsoft keep it going. And I the one thing I would hope going forward is the kind of rejig their work on adding auto HDR and
to that
4K res and 60 FPS boosts and things like that. I hope they bring that back because I know they sunsetted that kind of thing because they ran out of games that they could essentially legally do and get the rights to do. So with a lot of these older Activision titles again now, it could be a case of they can maybe go back and add some things to these titles when they've got them back on. Bring that 4K upres, bring that HDR.
Absolutely.
Maybe add 120 frames mode to some of these older Call of Duty games that are locked at 60.
I would be surprised, man. I mean, you know they turned back on the servers for some of the old Call of Duties. Over the last week. They kind of getting prepared, man. They kind of getting prepared to just launch those Activision Blizzard classics in there. So I think it's only a matter of time. Honestly, it's only a matter of time before we actually get that. And if they bring back like Call of Duty Modern Warfare from the 360 days, why not let it run at 120? I mean, it's technically doable with FPS boost.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, man. I would love to see that. By the way, in the chat, Dave Mack asked where he can find that service. It is called Antstream. So like, I just put it in the chat. I put a link in the chat where you will find all the infos if you're interested. So there we go. And Omitoni in the chat asks if he missed the Boom segment. Man, I forgot to mention that. No, you did not miss it. Boom had to cancel today's appearance. There was an emergency. It came up, but everything is fine. It's not health related. So not health related or anything. He's fine. He just needs to take care of some things, and so that's why he can't make it to today's show. But we will have him on this show probably, hopefully next week or the week after. So it's only postponed, not canceled. So we will have Boom. I haven't been on with Boom on a podcast in a bit, so can't wait for that, man. But yeah, good stuff with ant streaming and game preservation from Xbox. Again, I had to shout them out. Let's stay on Microsoft while we are at it. Microsoft had their quarterly earnings report, Dutch. So they reported their second best Q4 quarter and full year revenue for Xbox this week. The only quarter that was better for them was like the pandemic year. So it's pretty good. And Satya Nadella also confirmed that they had records for monthly active users and Game Pass engagement. So on that end, Xbox sounds to do really well. We learned a little later what it actually means, that Xbox hardware sales dropped 13% in the last quarter. But the Game Pass hours played were up 22%. So what do you think, Dutch? Hardware sales going down, player engagement with Game Pass went up. How will this continue for Xbox? Because at the same time, Sony has reported earlier today that they hit a milestone of 40 million PS5 consoles sold. With that, they are still just slightly behind the life cycle sales of the PlayStation 4. But it's still very, very good numbers. How Hardware sales of Xbox, on the other hand, seem to decline. Engagement went up. We know that a lot of that is probably on PC because that's where they've been growing a lot with Game Pass. We've heard that before, that Game Pass is not growing significantly on console. It's growing more on the PC side of things, but still people are playing more on Game Pass. So how do you see this in the future or over the next year or so?
It should improve. I mean, they've given themselves a rather weak outlook. If you have a look at it as well, they've kind of said that they expect Starfield to give them only a small boost, a single-digit boost in users and sales. I can't see that being the case, to be honest. I think it's going to be a much larger boost than they assume it's going to be, but I think an additional boost that they probably won't have foreseen was bringing the Call of Duty servers back up. Has ended up in a spike, a weird spike in sales for the platform.
Over a million people have been playing those old Call of Duty games at the same time. It's crazy,
insane, and it's caused people to go out and buy these old games again because you can buy them still. It's also meant that you can people are buying the consoles and things. So no, I foresee it being a bit better than they're assuming it's going to be over the next quarter and the next year. It's just a case of Microsoft's downfall anyway. This gen has been consistency, and we've said it all along, and there's no wonder the hardware sales are going down and sales in general are down because they haven't been putting anything out that people want to buy the platform for.
Yep.
Redfall didn't do it, and it was like a massive letdown.
Yeah.
The Diablo stuff's been massive for Diablo, but clearly not for Xbox. So they've just got to be more consistent with their output. That's all they can do. The only way you're going to get more consumers is be consistent with the output, be consistent with the games that you're putting in to your sub-service, and improve it on all fronts. It's all they've got to focus on now. And I think as soon as the ABK stuff, they'll take a little bit of a break from purchasing anything, and they'll just literally get on to managing the studios and managing the games and the portfolio and just get back into it. But I tend not to look into these things into too fine a detail because a lot of it's just point blank obvious. Like the platform needs to do better. We've been saying it for a while, but it's not a quick turnaround. You can't just assume the entire platform's just going to go from nothing to plus 100% in the next quarter. Like it's going to take a while for that to start increasing. But there are some positive signs. Although there are decreases, they're clearly not concerned. They clearly see like this is just like, okay, it's just another month. We'll just crack on. We foresee it growing, but not by a lot in the next year. And we'll just go on from there. Slightly positive news on that front, though, is the Xbox Series consoles have now outsold the entire lifetime of the Xbox One consoles in Japan.
There you go. I'm usually, or for a long time, I have been saying, I don't give a damn about the console sales and so on. But at the very end of the day, I kind of do. And here's why. Xbox have, you mentioned their own output, not being consistent, and we've been criticizing them for that. But then on the other hand, for the most part of this generation, we have not seen the console hardware perform as we all hoped it would. A lot of games come out and sometimes they perform slightly better on PlayStation, even though it's on paper the weaker hardware. And at the very end of the day, a lot of this comes down to return of investment for developers. Where you gonna put the time in, man? Where you gonna put the time in to optimize for a certain platform? You're gonna do that on the significantly smaller install base? We know that on a global scale, Xbox or PlayStation has outsold Xbox 2-1. In some regions, it's even more. And at the very end of the day, if you a Ubisoft, an EA, a Warner Brothers, whatever publisher you want to mention, where are you gonna put the time in to optimize for your game for? Is it the platform where you have 2 SKUs that you need to optimize for with the Xbox Series X and S, and then only have potentially half the install base than the one platform you can optimize for, where you probably gonna sell double the amount of units? So that's why it's not true anymore that I do not really care about install base. I think Xbox has been focusing a lot on promoting Game Pass, growing Game Pass wherever on PC. We just mentioned that they kind of focus on PC growth of Game Pass because that's where they've seen the growth for the subscription service. But at the very end of the day, the console gamers, we've seen it. We've seen it happen now more and more often. That developers don't really want to optimize for the platform. And of course, that's related to the install base. If they would have sold also 40 million units, it would be a different story, of course.
Yeah.
And as good as the option for the option for the Series S is for consumers to get into console gaming, at the end of the day, we know that it's a lot of work for them as well. And there are hardware limitations. More and more developers obviously came out. Baldur's Gate, is an example. And others, we've seen them come out more and more publicly to speak about that. So, do I care about console sales? I wish I can't buy myself anything if Xbox suddenly sells 30 million, 40 million, whatever units. Yeah, I wouldn't have a benefit from that. I'm not a shareholder. I don't have stock. I don't work for Microsoft, so no. But at the very end of the day, are we happy with how some of these third-party games have been performing? We kind of have to ask these questions. Why? Why isn't are developers not trying to really optimize for Xbox? And there are two reasons for that, and one is the install base. So for Microsoft to be successful in this gen, I wish they would kind of refocus on how can we sell more consoles? How can we grow our potential install base? I don't believe it. I don't believe those. We do not care about console sales. We just want you to play our games. I don't believe that. I do believe that a strong install base is still key for them, because they are not growing as big as they hope for on PC, because PC is Steam, period. It just is, yeah? And so that's why they, by the way, have been releasing a lot of games on Steam as well, obviously, because they need to sell units. And when your install base isn't big, obviously. So I would love them to focus more on growing actually the console install base. I want to see those numbers grow. Now, do I think they have the potential to do so? Absolutely. I mean, with Starfield coming out, they have like you said, Dutch, they have a huge hit on their hand. They do. And when you look at the success of Skyrim, I mean, obviously it's a system seller. It is a system seller. I do hope they get the marketing right, man. I do hope it. Attach that to the console. Let people know it's Xbox. You need to buy an Xbox console to play Starfield. I don't know what they will do with the marketing campaign, but they kind of have that. Forza obviously coming this year. Cool. There are other great third-party games coming day one. Lies of P, we mentioned earlier, Payday 3. There are great games coming. But again, they need to be consistent. And in between October and the next first-party release, we can't have another year. We just can't. So I really hope that it's... Because that's not consistent. That's not what you need to do when you want to grow actually your install base. Yeah. Hellblade and Avowed coming 24. One of them has to be spring, early spring, like March. Yeah, that's already like 5-6 months in between. You know, if I don't know, Hellblade comes out in March or April. Yeah, it's already more than half a year, or about a half a year in between two consoles. That's not major releases. That's okay. But it kind of has to be in that cadence. You know what I mean? In order to actually significantly grow the install base, you will see a little peak. You will see obviously a little peak with Starfield. But like you said, when people go into the store and they see, oh, Xbox has been releasing consistent games for the last 2 years and they still have like this roadmap here coming, then people will actually buy and invest in the console space, and they actually have to start fighting for it with the proper marketing campaign. They have all the chances in their hands. They have, like, again, when you look at the future of Xbox, the roadmap is so promising. There's a list of 20 announced games, and you can add another 20 major games that don't have or have not been properly announced yet, you know? But we know they are coming. We know Machine Games is working on a Wolfenstein 3. It is working on something. All those studios, and with ABK, obviously, you get the Call of Duty in, and you get the Blizzard games in, and Xbox has the cards in their hands. But having that alone is not doing it. You have to let people know, go out, buy the console, grow your install base. So yeah, I wonder how we talk about next Q4 of Xbox. Yeah, this time hardware sales declined, and I sure expect with Starfield to that those numbers will go up. Will they be able to catch up to PlayStation? I don't think this gen. Honestly, I don't think so. PlayStation is just such, on a global scale, a better known brand. Yeah, I know this is kind of hard to hear for our listeners from the US, because Xbox is a lot more present in the US, but it's really an irrelevant brand kind of here across Europe for the most part. And there are other regions where it's even worse, like Japan, you know. So they kind of have to focus on that. So yeah, I know a lot of people, again, say, I don't care about console sales. My opinion on that has changed over the last years. Honestly, I was at the same in 2020. I spoke very differently about console sales than I do now, because I don't think that cloud is growing them. PC is good. I love it that we have the option to go back and forth, and I use it obviously a lot with now, especially now with my ally. I love that. It's fantastic. But to actually grow your install base in the console space is important, because developers, third-party publishers have to take it more serious, man. It's just so. But Xbox has the cards in their hand. They have everything. They just need to step up the game and actually be consistent. So what do you think, Dutch? Are they going to be consistent in 24? When we will see about Hellblade, beginning, end? Because if both of them are the two big fall releases, we are waiting for another year for the next game. Oh, hang on 1 second before I want to shout out Draunty J, who sends in a $2 super chat and says, "Hey guys, I'll watch it later today. Still awesome of you to drop in, man. thanks, and I do hope you enjoy the show afterwards. Then. So, but Dutch, sorry, I interrupted you.
What was the question again?
Consistency and console sales, and I talked about so much, man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of alluded to that in my response previously to everything. We've mentioned it on numerous occasions. It's consistency is key for Xbox this generation, and
yeah, but will they be consistent throughout 24?
Like Starfield has to be the start, not just another 2021 scenario where we have a good year then a terrible year. And in all intents and purposes, we've got Starfield, Forza Motorsport, and then next year we've got Avowed
and Hellblade,
and then a couple of others. Towerborn or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but it won't move the needle. Listen, this is it can be I'm not particularly excited for it, but it's like a Pentiment, you know. Like there are people that really enjoy that, and that's fantastic. But it won't move the needle whatsoever. What they need, obviously, are the big bangers, and we know they are coming. We know about the pipeline. But again, the question is, will they be consistent throughout 24? Because given their track record, Hellblade and Avowed both get delayed.
Yeah. I know, but I don't foresee that being the case next year. I don't foresee Hellblade or Avowed being delayed.
Yeah. I hope they learned their lesson when you give a date. Well, we don't have a specific date, but at least a year. You try to want to keep that. I think they know that by now. I hope they know that by now. So I don't think they will get delayed, but even if they hit 24 and it will be a fall day, both will be fall releases. It will be another dry year before we play more games, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we always play games, but you know what I mean. So
yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it has to be the norm going forward, not just an outlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, consistent. They have to be consistent. There is no ifs or buts now. They have to be.
True. All true. Okay, man. Then let's see how Xbox will turn out. Again, the future looks so bright. So many awesome games to look forward to. I want to move away for a moment from Xbox and go over to PlayStation because they had a big PC release this week. You've been playing it. Ratchet & Clank, man.
Yes.
Why do I want to make this a topic? When the console came out, when the PS5 came out, Sony has been, you know, like playing the drum. Okay, we have this magical SSD. It can do wonders, dude. It can do all the things that the high-end graphics cards can do. The best CPU, everything. You just don't need that shit. You know, you need this magical SSD. It can do wonders. And one of their big showcases always was Ratchet & Clank. It was like, for the most part, the only true next-gen only title that was not cross-gen, because, you know, you remember, they believe in generation, so... But
oh yes.
But then Ratchet & Clank came out, and that's the showcase why you need this SSD. And I loved Ratchet & Clank. I played it day one, loved it. Fantastic game. But I sat back then, and I remember Mr. Badbit was on the on the podcast. And he was like, no, this is only possible. Yeah. Shout out to you, man. I told you so. I sat back and then. There's nothing in this game that can't be done on a regular hard drive, on an HDD. You can play Ratchet & Clank. And as it turns out, Dutch, you've been playing it on an HDD, right?
Yep. Yeah, on a Surefire 2 terabit hard drive USB 3.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works fine.
There you go.
Naturally, as we've spoke about many times, and people don't like to hear it, and they still now are trying to change the parameters of what we mentioned. The Rift jumps are glorified load screens. That's it.
Absolutely.
The only thing you require an SSD for is to load in the assets of the next level a little bit quicker so that the load screen is either next to nothing or nothing. What it doesn't mean, however, is that you cannot run that game on a hard drive, because you can.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that you have to bear in mind is that they've also ensured that the game has ray tracing on console.
Yeah.
Which means if you were to completely remove ray tracing, which you can do on PC, and you turn down those effects a little bit, you will absolutely be able to run the base game on a PlayStation 4, as much as people don't want to hear it, and it'll be working fine. Yes, you're gonna have a little bit of a gap when you go through rifts in between these levels, and it's not as seamless. But would it run? Absolutely. Would it run at 30 frames? Definitely.
Well, but even that is not
But it
really
still
related
runs.
to the SSD, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, sure, some things help. Yes, I know. Some things
yeah.
help.
It's a benefit, but what they were alluding to, which is what we're kind of saying, is that you can't run this game without an SSD.
Yeah.
Not specifically, they kind of misquoted on the article and said the PS5 SSD, but in general, the theory was you cannot run the game on something that isn't an SSD. Now, the benefit on a PC, of course, is that they have Microsoft's direct storage, which is helping them run the game from a hard drive using direct storage and make it a bit quicker. What it doesn't do is guarantee that game to work better. All it does is just help transfer the asset files a little bit quicker, so that it kind of somewhat behaves like an SSD when it's a hard drive. Does that mean that you can't improve? Because if you went into the hard drive, the standard hard drive in a PlayStation 4, and changed it from the 5400 RPM drive that come with its stock to a 7500 RPM drive, you would be able to run this game on a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Granted, it wouldn't look as pretty and you wouldn't have ray tracing, but is ray tracing all like the end of the world? No. Would you be able to play the game? Yes. I've been playing on a hard drive. You can see it on the screen there. So I've been playing on the hard drive. Mostly high settings. Shadows are turned down to medium. But with that, I also had ray traced ambient occlusion, ray traced shadows, ray traced reflections. What I will say on the version that I'm running, the RT reflections definitely have bugs and issues at the moment on the PC, but it hasn't had a patch. Came out yesterday. There hasn't been any patch even on day one. There hasn't been any patches for it. Like, I pre-installed the game and then played the game. There hasn't been any updates for the game since. So there's bound to be some patches for it that line out a few of the issues. In terms of the Rift jumps, as I mentioned, they just load screen between areas. The in-game rifts, where you're pulling yourself from one side of the map to the other, is completely seamless. I will say the implementation of ray traced shadows and ray traced ambient occlusion in the game is really good. It does make a noticeable difference in the visual outlook of the game.
It does.
Like, it really does. It makes
it even
a massive
did on console, man. They had It was fantastic on console. On the PS5, they had, I want to say, at least 4, if it wasn't 5 different modes, like a ray tracing performance mode, a ray tracing mode, a quality mode, and blah, blah, blah. And I ended up playing the game at 40 FPS with ray tracing. VRR helped a lot, obviously, and it was it was a beautiful game. They no doubt the implementation. But like you said, Dutch, there's nothing in this game that kind of requires you to have the SSD. The Rifts, they've always talked about, they've always shown the same sequence where Ratchet is like gliding on a rail and then enters those rifts and a new world loads in and bam, you change through the worlds. But what people always forget is that this is pre-scripted. So it's not like the new world needs to load in by the push of a button. It just doesn't. You have the game knows exactly that it needs in 10 seconds or whatever, the new world. And then another 30 seconds later, the next world. And so on. It's pre-scripted. It can load in the background, and if the game knows it needs to load a little longer because of the HDD, it just does that. In addition to that, they have these transition sequences anyway, where he's like in this tunnel thing.
And even then, on a hard drive, it doesn't take long to load these levels, and we're talking about like a matter of seconds, not like 20, 30 seconds. We're talking like it takes 2 or 3 seconds. It's like 1, 2, 3, and then into the next zone. And that's the difference. It's a difference between like half a second and 3 seconds. Like it sounds like a lot, but realistically, it isn't. Like you don't, as you mentioned, it's a scripted scenario. If it was a case of like you were literally pulling yourself into an entirely different universe whenever you want throughout the entire game, that's a different kettle of fish. It's an entirely different kettle of fish.
You know,
but it isn't.
Exactly, it isn't. More or less at the same time, Psychonauts 2 came out. And Psychonauts 2 actually had a level with, I don't know if you remember, where you had like all these doors. And when you walked through the one door, you instantly were in a different world. And when you walked through the other door, you were in another world. I thought at that point, I remember I brought that example up because that was not scripted. That was not scripted. The game did not know whether you're gonna walk through that door in the next second or through the other door next to it. The game didn't know. So in that case, they had to really instantly load the respective worlds in. And that game didn't require an SSD. So I think it's one of these things.
It's people's underlying issue with knowing what scalability means. Like, this game is absolutely scalable.
Yeah.
To the point where what they should have really said was, to get the best experience, we recommend that you use an SSD because it will be quicker, it'll load the assets in quicker, and you'll not have the load screens. Instead of saying this is impossible or it won't be able to run on a hard drive, and then Nix has come around, developed the PC port, and it runs on a hard drive. Does it run on a hard drive? And granted, like it stutters to death on a 10-year-old 5400 revs per minute hard drive from a PlayStation 4. But what's the realistic scenario where someone's going to have a 5400 RPM 10-year-old hard drive?
Yeah,
like that's an unlikely scenario to begin with. The vast majority of people with newish computers have a 7500 RPM hard drive.
Yeah.
Or
I do
agree. A SATA SSD or an SSD.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an SSD. You could have a SATA drive, which is a little bit quicker again than a standard hard drive. And again, there's a lot of technical differences between the three. So a hard drive, you kind of literally finding the data from blocks. From a SATA, it's like a spinning disk in the inside of this SATA drive. Yep. And it's trying to find, there we go, found that little bit of data there. And from an SSD, it's instantaneous. It's just like, there's the data. Yep. There's the data. There's the data. So they each have the flaws or benefits, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it. You just have to use different technology in order to use it itself. So Ratchet would easily work on a Series S, for instance.
Yeah.
You dial back the resolution, but
I mean, come on, it's Steam Deck verified now.
Yeah, yeah, you can do it on an SD card. You can literally use it on a micro SD.
Yeah, you can. So I
And
think
everyone initially people were trying to say, well, doesn't the Steam Deck have an SSD? Not all of the Steam Decks have an SSD. The highest one has an SSD. The lower models don't.
yeah, they have the SD cards. They have the SD cards, and the game runs great off of those. Granted, with a good one, with a good SD card, you still have a higher bitrate than with a classic HDD drive. But I think it's obvious that this was one more of the marketing lies that we have heard at the very beginning of the generation. Just like we believe in generations. This has been obviously, lost its credibility and validity. But some developers still run with the SSD being so magical. I don't know if you've seen it on the streets of Twitter, or whether you thought, oh, that's a good reason, a good thing that I got banned and had not to endure this.
No, I saw it. I saw it and interacted with it before my account got banned.
Okay.
Yeah, quantum error.
Quantum error, exactly. Can you let people know, for those who don't know what happened?
Yes. So quantum error is a space action horror game being built by 4 brothers who are developers. Using one PC to develop this game, by the way, which I found really strange. So taking it in turns to work on development, which is surely not beneficial or productive in any way, shape, or form. I'm sure they're also a recipient of Mega Grant by Epic, and that being the case, you would have thought they used some of that Mega Grant to get some more PCs.
Yeah, you would think so.
But then they also put out some console war rhetoric stuff.
Yeah.
Which was, this is only possible on the PlayStation 5 SSD, and we're really struggling to get it to work with an Xbox thing. But then later transpired that they hadn't even begun work on optimizing anything on the Xbox, and they hadn't even checked out any of the options on Xbox yet.
Yeah.
Then they also posted that the best place to play it will be PlayStation. And they hadn't looked into any of the technology available on other platforms in order to get it to run as quick.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of try and backpedal, but it was by that point they'd already started consistently back and forward with a lot of the console war trolls on Twitter about how good the game is on PlayStation, how it's going to be the best version on PlayStation and nobody else is going to get a good version, without actually knowing how to develop the game on any other platform.
Yeah.
Not only that, but what they'd showed to me, if your game and the boss battle that you're speaking about, which is that's the only thing that they spoke of, this big old epic boss battle is why
they have one big boss battle in the game that is simply not possible with the slow SSD of the Series X.
Which is absolute rubbish. If your SSD is using 5 gigabits, all 5 gigabits of the SSD, your game is horrifically optimized.
Yeah.
It is trash, like the worst optimization ever. You need to go back to the drawing board and figure out why your game is requiring 5 gig of data transfer in order to run that level, because something's not right.
Absolutely.
And I would point that down to the fact that you've got 4 people using one computer to make a game.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen one of the responses from the Quantum Error account that they haven't even looked at the APIs that Direct Storage provide. That DirectX 12,
especially Direct Storage 1.2 or 1.1, which is super quick now.
DirectX 12 is like a question mark to them, stuff like that. So obviously, like you said, man, if they would have optimized their game in any way, shape, or form, this would not be even a discussion point. But clearly, clearly they just don't bother. But it's kind of weird. I mean, if you're such a PlayStation fan, then just release the game on PlayStation. Just do that. You do that.
Yeah.
You know
At this point, I was going to say just do it and see what happens.
exactly.
You just release that game on PlayStation and see how quickly people fall off that game, because it isn't the problem you've got with a lot of these indie developers. And thankfully, I know a lot of really great ones. Is the really great ones show consistent updates on their feeds all of the time of the development. The ones that make terrible games do a lot of talking,
Yeah,
and not much delivering.
exactly.
And we've seen countless, especially when it comes to some of these loudmouth developers. They spent a lot of time on social media talking about how good their game is, and then when it actually comes to it, it isn't. It isn't anything close to what they suggested it was going to be.
Exactly. Exactly my thoughts. It's if you release a multi-platform game, you can't come out and trash an entire platform like that. Like literally,
not only that, but
especially when you are such a small indie developer. Sorry for.
No, I was going to say, especially to kind of just to tail on from that, it's not just a singular platform. They haven't even begun optimizing on PC.
Yeah.
Which is far superior to the PlayStation 5 in every avenue.
And especially since the PC community is the place to play indie games still.
Yeah.
Like there is no other customer base out there that invests so much money in indie games. And the platform where indies do traditionally the worst is actually PlayStation, because PlayStation is not promoting indies in any way, shape, or form. We've heard it countless times that they only put the big blockbuster titles in their stores front and center. They make discoverability for indie games on the PlayStation Store really, really hard. It's kind of it's very different on Xbox, where you have the dedicated indie tab. You have like the ID at Xbox program. They do their own indie showcases. They kind of highlight those. And of course, with Game Pass. Game Pass is like free advertisement for every indie game. It's this viral marketing. We've seen it countless times. What was the vampire game at the end of last year? Vampire Survivor.
Yep.
Yeah, Vampire Survivor. You would think that anyone would have heard of that game if it wasn't for Game Pass. But since it was on Game Pass and people played it, enjoyed it, loved it, talked about it out on social media, that game became a hit. And whenever we heard that the last time from an indie game on PlayStation, discoverability is key, is essential for indie games. And those guys coming out and saying, well, our game comes out on PlayStation and the Xbox. We do it for both, but the one platform is shit. It's like, what you doing? What are you?
It's not even just that, Boxy. It's not even just the platform shit. It's like the platform shit, and then someone questions if they know what direct storage is, and they're like, "No, we don't know what that is, and we haven't even attempted to start optimizing."
Yeah,
so you can't say it, and it can't run on Xbox when you don't know what the platform or any of the tools available to you are.
Yeah.
So,
it's
like, what? Like what?
I gotta give them one thing though. I doubt that they had the intelligence that this was actually intended, but no one would have talked about that game without it. At least
the problem they've got now is they're seriously going to put off a lot of people, not because the game will run better on PlayStation, just because of their immature behavior on social media and some of the people they interact with and the way that they go on. Not only that, but then to say that they didn't know about certain tools available to them when they are developers. They should know what is the latest in tech. At least you should do. If you're developing a game and you don't know what direct storage is or DirectX 12,
there's
something wrong.
then don't
Like,
even
you
bother
should know as a
trying to
developer
bring it
what the
out on
X12
Xbox.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or on Windows for that matter. That's the thing. Like you said, they basically entirely skip PC as well. It's not just about skipping Xbox. It's about the entire Windows, basically the PC platform. It's like, man, but at least they got they got us talking about this for far too long. Honestly, yeah. It's kind of with this effect, they kind of achieved like a viral marketing thing, and there are too many fanboys out there that will now buy this game simply for the fact that they bashed on Xbox.
The problem is, though, Boxy, is that when you have something like this and you claim your game is also great and requires so much thing, you need to back that up with quality game. And they put the gameplay out. I don't know whether or not you've seen it.
I've seen it,
footage of the game that I saw does not shout requires a 5 gigabit per second.
Not even close.
SSD.
Not even close.
There's some low res, low texture quality scenery, materials, characters. The mechanical aspect of the characters and the movement isn't great.
Yeah,
there's a lot of work needs, and they claim they're close to going gold.
Yeah,
they are nowhere near gold.
I mean, it's hard to develop games, especially as an indie, super small team. I know there's probably no one out there that supports indies in the way like you do. Though you absolutely love indies. I do too, but the work you put in to highlight the work of solo developers, of super small studios, groups like that is next to nothing. There's no one else out there who does put in so much work as you do to put together the indie community showcase this year twice. Yes, absolutely. So it's really not us bashing like indie developers.
Nope.
I've
worked with enough at this point to know the do's and don'ts of how good an indie developer can be. And of all of the indie developers I've ever spoken to, not one of them has acted like that on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. But hey, you need this magical SSD, obviously, to run a Ratchet and Clank, to run the Quantum Error. There you go.
But this boss battle going on behind me is so different without an SSD.
Yeah, it is. You need that. The magic of the SSD, man. I don't know why people buy 4090s. They should just invest in a proper SSD and all the problems are solved.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But you know what? Which game actually truly requires an SSD? That's Starfield. Yeah, well, Flight Sim as well. Man, you had to ruin this fantastic segue.
One game that they've yet to disprove is that Flight Sim is still, to this day, the only next-gen game that has released.
I want to believe you. I'm just thinking... But I think you are, because on PC there are also only there's Star Citizen out there that really requires an SSD.
Yeah.
Flight Sim, obviously, but I think that's it. I'm probably forgetting one or so. If someone in the chat knows another PC game that actually requires you to have an SSD, let us know. But Starfield is coming. Starfield is coming soon, and this game actually requires an SSD. Probably for very different reasons than what they marketed, promised, lied to us with Ratchet and Clank. Yeah. There are no rifts, at least from what we know so far about Starfield. But I think it's what why this is required is probably has probably to do with the procedural generation of an entire planet. If you think about this, when you fly towards a planet, you land on it, this entire massive world is procedurally generated. There are handcrafted things that then get implemented onto the procedurally generated thing. But can you imagine the kind of data that you have to basically load in for that?
Yeah.
And the scope of Starfield is like, it's a different ballpark than a Quantum Arrow and even a Ratchet Clank for that matter. Yeah, it's a very different ballpark. So yeah, this Starfield is definitely a game where I can see, okay, that's why you need it, and you don't need it. You don't need it for like graphical effects. You don't need the SSD for that. You don't need it for, I don't know, a good AI. You know, you don't need that. You don't even need it for 60 frames, because games have been running for ages of HDDs at 60 FPS. Obviously, you don't need that. But what you do need an SSD for is when you actually have to transfer massive amount of data. And with these planets actually being generated by the game itself, when you approach the planet, when you land on the planet.
Yeah,
that's a technology, dude, where I am getting goosebumps thinking about how this will work, and what kind of technical wizardry you need to do to have not just entirely procedural generated, but to curate those procedurally generated planets then with handcrafted content. Like this is madness, and for that you need high data transfer rates.
That's what I was saying with regards to why Flight Sim is still the only real next gen game that's come out as so far, because it's an entire planet that is where the assets are streamed in as and when you're flying across them.
Yeah.
Like, and depending on the speed of your plane, that could be really quickly, or it could be relatively slowly.
Yeah.
And we've seen with the add-on for Top Gun and things, you can do literally the entire US in an hour in a 1-to-1 scale, because you're doing Mach 10.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's crazy, man.
If you add in the cloud on top of that and the asset streaming from the cloud, which then takes into effect real weather, and then all of the data downloads for each individual city and all of the actual graphical add-on packs that you can put into it, which is why the game's like 400 gig by the time you put on all of the add-ons.
Yeah.
Like, it requires so much constant data streaming to stream in all of the assets every time you're just flying from one point to the next, and it doesn't hold them, because that would be too much. You can't hold, like, once you've gone past that, you just ditch it. You have to ditch it, because you can't, like, the entire planet is literally more than 5 petabits of information. So
yeah,
you can that's what I'm saying when developers are saying, oh, it needs this. Your game, based on what you've shown, does not require an SSD.
Agreed.
Like you can understand why Starfield does, because it's, again, as you mentioned, it's completely randomly generated, all 1,000 planets, and 100 of them are randomly generated and have handcrafted sections on top of it as well.
Agreed.
So that's a reason. It's not because you're going off planet and on planet, because the slight buffer there is that you don't pilot onto the planet and pilot off it. That is in itself a little cutscene, a little breather, so it can generate that planet. But it's still an entire planet that it needs to generate.
Exactly.
You'd be there for literally 5 minutes if you try to do that thing on a hard drive.
Yeah. Exactly. So, man, speaking of Starfield, where's the hype level?
It's about 7.5 at the minute for me.
Only? Dude, what is wrong with you?
The reason is my hype for games doesn't peak until like the week of the game release.
But you know that at Gamescom you will be playing that game.
Yes. And then
And
I'll
that's
get really
3
hyped.
weeks from now. And then you get
And I'll
hyped.
be like,
I see.
Yeah.
I see where the. Have you seen this week, man? Microsoft released. I don't know. Xbox and Bethesda released 2 little animated series from Starfield, like kind of like anime series. They were all each like 3-4 minutes long. Both highlight different planets, different main cities, little mini stories to set up the mood for what's to come. Have you seen those?
Yes. Yeah, they look really cool. I like when the studios do things like this. But we also saw the same thing for Redfall.
True.
So let's hope that isn't an indicator.
Dude, you have to bring this down, man. I was so excited because I really liked them, and honestly, I thought they were brilliantly done. I want those now.
Another way. It's another way of, because they've spoke about these things anyway, and they've spoke about them in like big dev diary type things where they have like a conversation on a sofa and they talk to each other about the different settlements and things like that. So all they've done is made them into a bite-sized, easier to digest animated story in video to put onto YouTube or put onto social media, which is a much better way of doing it than somebody sitting down and watching like a 30-40 minute like dev diary type thing where you have to sit and really pay attention to what the crack is. So this bite-sized scenario here where they're doing these little animated kind of episodes is a much better way of people getting to know the different factions, the different systems and things like that before release. Because there's a lot to take in, and of course you can just intentionally be ignorant and choose to ignore them because you want to just find things out as you go along. Or you can soak up all the information as much as possible before release, so that you go in there with full knowledge on who these different factions are and different worlds are, and make a valid choice as to what you're planning on doing going forward.
Setting up the mood, getting already a little familiar with like planet names, main city names, and I'm with Carolina Gamer in the chat who says, Dutch, how dare you make this comparison? True. And then...
I had to. Come on.
Yeah. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I bring a little bit of spice into it. Come on.
That you do. That you do. But yeah. I think we will see now for the next, let's say, 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks, to see really the marketing machine roll on. And I kind of like those things. Those little animated series will not sell 1 copy. But this is for the fans. This is for us. The gamers that will spend way too much time in that game, that are super excited, just thinking about the game, and for us to getting prepared, get us in the right mood. And they were really well done. I actually was like, oh man, I want a full-fledged series like that, But with that, we will see more of those kind of bits. What do you think? What do you expect from the marketing machinery in the next couple of weeks?
It's hard to tell, because what's the launch trailer going to be like? Is the key one. How good's that launch trailer going to be like? And then, of course, you've seen what they did with even now. I still see the Diablo Xbox advert all the time, and that's a great advert.
It is. Absolutely.
You kind of need something very similar. And one thing I really want for Starfield is when you boot up the Starfield, the game, do what Diablo's done, do what Gears of War's done, and have that custom Xbox Game Studios kind of graphic when you turn it on. That's like Starfield related, and it isn't just a generic Microsoft one. Yeah, I want them to just to really go all out on it. They need to go all out on it. It's the biggest. It is the biggest game they've released in forever, really.
Probably forever. I agree.
One of the
I know
most
there
important
were
things
other
about
big,
Xbox.
like Halo 3 was pretty big.
Yeah.
But given that the studio used to be like multi-plat, Halo 3 only came out on Xbox. This comes out now on console, on PC, on cloud, and everything, except PlayStation. You know, it is bigger to that degree. So I agree. It is the biggest launch they've probably had ever. And
I mean, the only one that like you think back at that's a constant fan favorite in terms of like launch trailers, and everyone thinks back at it. But the original Gears of War 1 launch trailer, Mad World soundtrack,
yeah,
like that automatically sticks out in everybody's minds as to how you get people excited for your game, because everyone was just like, "What is this?" And like there's this mad kind of war going on between these underground kind of beasts / aliens, and it felt horror-like and like a war, and it just set the tone for what the game was, and it didn't disappoint. And what we need from Starfield is a launch trailer, ideally, that sets the tone for what this game is and just how grandiose that game can be. So hopefully they don't disappoint on that front, because it's like we've said, they need to be more consistent. They need to start knocking it out the park. So fingers crossed.
I mean, it's funny that you bring up the Diablo advertising campaign, because it was like literally the best Xbox marketing campaign I have ever seen in Germany, period. Like, I've said it before. Yeah, exactly. I said it before. Like,
went to the pictures with me mother of all things. I've forgotten what we've seen the other month. And the only game advert that was on there, aside from the Gran Turismo film trailer, was Diablo.
Yeah. And at the very end, play it on Xbox. It was fantastic, man. The marketing campaign for Diablo was really good. The question is, though, how much of that was Blizzard? And what was Xbox? You know? So it will be interesting to see what they do with the marketing campaign. I do hope that we will get more like those animated series, stuff like that, to get us a little bit more acquainted with the lore of the game. I wanna, because we know this is a massive universe. It's a vast story. You will have so much main side quests. If you remember, like Skyrim had actually 2 main storylines, but then there were like the Brotherhood and all those quest lines that were bigger than most other main game quest lines, and you will lose yourself in that, and I cannot wait to lose myself in that. But in that case, I'm not like, usually I go into a game, I don't want spoilers at all. And I'm not saying I want the story spoiled, but I want to be introduced a little bit more into the lore, into what can I expect. Like you said, get introduced to the factions, what they stand for, what their intentions are. Like, introduce us to the universe. I do hope that they do something in the lead up to the game, that we know a little bit more about those pirates we've already seen, and the different cities and what they stand for, and so on. I would love to see that. But yeah, man. September 6th, September 1st, for those who pre-ordered the Super Duper edition, can't come quick enough. We are going to Gamescom in a little bit more than 3 weeks, dude. And you bet that at the Xbox booth, yeah, you wearing the T-shirt, man. Show us. Hang on, I need to switch the overlay so that people can actually see that a little bit better. Gamescom.
Gamescom midweek mix-up.
It's gonna be awesome.
With our sponsor Framer game.
Oh yeah. So good, man. It looks so good. Show us more, man. You could be a model, man. I have a beer belly here. I wouldn't be able to pull that off like you do, but man, fantastic shirt. Looks fantastic. The midweek mix-up shirt for Gamescom. Gonna make some World of Gaming shirts as well, and we will be there in a little bit more than 3 weeks. And luckily we sorted things a little bit out, so we will be able to attend properly Gamescom. So not that Gamescom had anything to do with that, though.
We're waiting to hear back from one, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. True. Fingers crossed. We need to. But it's gonna be awesome. And we will be playing safe Starfield. But dude, people do not want to hear our excitement for being at Gamescom right now, I think.
Well, they should, because ultimately they're going to get lots of content.
Exactly. We definitely will do a podcast live from Gamescom. You will see us for the very first time in the same room, doing a podcast. And it's going to be awesome. We will bring you, for everyone who can't go, we will try to bring you like at least an impression of what Gamescom is like. And yeah, man, the Gamescom is going to be awesome this year. There's every major publisher except PlayStation is going to be there. Xbox is going to have their biggest presence ever. They said biggest booth they've ever had. Phil is going to be there. You are going to be there. Gas is going to be there. It's going to be fantastic, man. And we will be playing
John from Xbox Era, Jez,
Gas, Mick.
Mick.
Owen. It's going to be...
Potentially even the likes of Paris, you never know.
You never know. Chess Gordon is going to be there.
Yep.
Already texted him.
Aaron Greenberg, of course. We're going to meet Aaron.
Yes.
So that's going to be fun. And then I get with checks off Aaron. Aaron, still waiting.
Yes. we will have to have a hard talk with him because we've been missing checks for years now, dude. But yeah. God, good stuff, man. I'm excited. I'm so excited for Gamescom. But what else do we want to discuss this week? Ubisoft. Let's talk about Ubisoft, man. Ubisoft has been doing some weird shit, honestly. They are apparently closing unused accounts, which would... So people that have not logged into their Ubisoft accounts for more than a year, those accounts will be disabled, even though you purchased the game. Kind of backtracked on that a little later because people were really unhappy. Obviously, I would be absolutely furious just because I didn't log in for a year to delete my account. That they backtracked a little and said they look into not deleting inactive accounts that have actually purchased games. So they just want to use the delete the... But even that, man, I have probably not logged into my Ubisoft account for a year because they released nothing over the last year. Why would I log into that?
Yep.
So, man, what did you make of this? It's super weird to me. Like,
absolutely insane. It's the worst policy I think I've ever seen from. I don't understand the thinking behind it. If you don't log in within a 30-day or within this 30-day period, you're going to lose access to all of your games permanently.
Yeah.
your account's going to be deleted. Like, what nonsense is this? If you bought something, it's yours, regardless.
Well, technically it isn't. If you buy a game digitally, you only acquire the license to play the game as long as the developer wants you to. So technically you're not buying the game.
But a subservice, i.e. Ubisoft, whatever it is, or even your account to Ubisoft, that shouldn't be anything to do with the game itself.
Yep.
That should be on a case-by-case basis if they pull a singular game off. Not if you don't log into our Ubisoft service, then you lose access to every game you've purchased that's Ubisoft. Is absolute bullcrap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine some poor dude accidentally goes into a coma, wakes up a years later, and all of his games are deleted because Ubisoft sent him an email he couldn't reply to.
Exactly. Exactly, man. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's just such a terrible idea. I don't know who thought about this
being a good thing
in there. Yeah.
I mean, especially the time frame. Like, a year really isn't much. Make 10 years of inactive. But even then, man, why? In this day and age, come on. We are not living like...
They give you only 30 days to respond when they send the email?
It's nothing. It's really nothing. So, you know what else they kind of confirmed? There was this rumor going around that they cancelled Immortals Phoenix Rising, the sequel. And they confirmed, actually, that they are relocating some creative teams and resources within the Quebec studio. So, not really saying, yeah, we cancelled a potential successor or sequel. But, on the other hand, they kind of did. So, I was actually kind of bummed hearing that, because I really enjoyed Immortals Phoenix Rising. I thought it was fantastic. I enjoyed it more than Breath of the Wild, and I know people will hate me for saying that, but Breath of the Wild was good, but Immortals just had something to it. It was funny, you know, the gameplay was awesome. There were not just fun combat mechanics, there were great riddles in that game. It was not your typical Ubisoft open world thing. The story was told really well, you know, with the off narrators in that game. It was an absolute blast to play. And for that game not to get a sequel, I was kind of bummed. Have you looked into this, man? And have you actually played? I don't even know if you have played Immortals Phoenix Rising.
I haven't got round to it. I've downloaded it because it's on Game Pass, but I haven't actually got around to playing it as yet. And
you definitely
one of them
should.
Things that I need to. I know I need to. And
yeah.
But we spoke about this. You don't believe in backlogs, and it's one of them games where I've downloaded it on the premise that I'm going to play it at some point. But realistically,
like you
definitely
won't.
Not getting. Yeah,
you rather play another 100 hours of Sea of Thieves instead of playing this actual good game.
Yeah. The Monkey Island DLC for Sea of Thieves. The only reason I'm not playing that right now is because I'm waiting for the other 2 episodes to release, and then I'll be playing the living shit out of that because I love Monkey Island, and that's like a dream expansion, like. And apparently they've done a really, really good job as well of making it feel like the original Monkey Island, like a really good job. So I'm like super excited to get onto that, but I'm intentionally forcing myself to not play it right now. Just waiting. It's a monthly thing. So by the time like Starfield would have been out, I would have been playing that for a bit. I could then get on to Sea of Thieves, play the episodes, and then go back to Starfield. By the time like the Sea of Thieves episodes, and you can play them like once a week. You get them done in like 3 little episodes, a couple of hours each way. Boom, sorted. But yeah, I agree. Immortal Phoenix Rising. I heard nothing but good things about that, and it's a testament to that game that the community is overwhelmingly disheartened that they've chose to cancel a sequel for it, as to how good that game is.
Yeah.
So I mean, the developers themselves can take heed in the fact that the community wanted this, but unfortunately, their bosses chose otherwise, despite
Very unfortunate.
community feedback.
Yeah. But it's I mean, the Ubisoft roadmap does look good. I know people like to hate on Ubisoft. I do like their games for the most part. They had their hits and misses, of course, like every other publisher as well. But I'm looking forward to Avatar. Actually, it will probably be my Christmas game. It comes out in the middle of December. We'll be playing that. Star Wars really looks good. Coming next year, Star Wars Outlaws. Cannot wait for that. They actually confirmed today that this will not be like a 300-hour plus unfinishable game. They said there will be
That's a
tons
shame.
of content. There will be tons of content, but you will be able to finish this game with if you focus on the main story within a reasonable time frame, whatever that means.
What the hell
But
does that mean?
what
What's
is
the
a
reasonable
reasonable?
time frame these days?
I don't know. I really don't know. What is a reasonable time frame? That's a good question for our community here. What is a reasonable time frame? Let us know in the chat. And I would say for me, that's probably, I want to say 30 hours to 40 for an open world RPG. It's a reasonable time frame. For an action adventure, it's somewhere in between, I would say, like 10 to 20 hours. Somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know what's reasonable to you.
For a game, me, it's 10 to 20 hours is like a reasonable game. Anything beyond that is when you have to start thinking about what you want to focus on. This is an investment. Anything beyond, like, but if I know a game's 10 hours, then there's every possibility I'll finish that in a weekend. If I go into a game knowing, okay, this game is like 10 hours or less, then I'll be like, I am playing this game this weekend and finishing it. If that game is even 20 hours, I'll be like, sweet, like that's not a long game. I can get this game done this week. And then I can focus on another long game. If there's a big game coming out, then I can focus on that. But that's why I'm kind of happy that Ratchet and Clank's, as you mentioned, pretty short.
Yeah.
I can get that done before Starfield comes out, easy. And also replay Final Fantasy VII Remake before Starfield comes out.
That's another, but that's not a 10-hour, 15-hour, 20-hour game. That's more like, boy, how long did it take me? I think like 30 plus hours, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about 35. It's about 35, I think.
And I think that's good for an RPG because RPGs, if you rush an RPG in 10 to 20 hours, I'm not sure if that, some games need to be a little bit longer because this builds up the world. You would never ever feel like connected to, I don't know, the world of The Witcher, best game ever made. If you would not feel connected to this world if you would finish this game in 10 to 15 hours. It's because you spent like 80 plus hours in that world discovering things, getting familiar with the characters, getting familiar with the lore and the map and everything. It's because of that you feel like so attached to that game.
Yeah.
There are games that overstay their welcome for sure. We've all played those, that just feel like stretched out. Yeah, like The Last of Us 2, stretched out. Loved that game. It was a fantastic game. But I would have appreciated that game being 10 hours shorter, honestly. It's like...
There's a few games as well where you think, God, that's not long enough. I need more. And that's testament to how good a game is, but that's how difficult it is to balance some of these things.
Yeah. It is. That's true. What was a game? What was a game where you say, hey, that's... I would have loved for it to be a little bit longer.
More recently, Hi-Fi Rush. Even just a
really?
smidge, even just like an hour longer. I absolutely
thought
adored that game.
that I loved the game, no doubt, but I thought it was perfect in its length. Like this was like exactly the right length. When I think about it, I want to say like all the Call of Duty campaigns. Like I just think 5 to 6 hours is too short. I do enjoy those campaigns. They have high production quality. You know, it's like your Michael Bay movie. It's nothing that sets the world on fire, but you know, good popcorn kino, but cinema. Popcorn kino is the German word. Sorry. Like it, you can watch that thing, a movie, 2 hours. You enjoy it and then move out. These are the Call of Duty campaigns to me, but I'm not willing to invest like $70 into a game that I finish after 5 to 6 hours. I know I'm cheap, but sorry. Like so for me, for instance, those are games where I would have loved for them to be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
This is definitely something that comes to mind. I'm just trying to think from the top of my head if I have any other games that I played recently where I said I probably that they need to be longer. I know of a few that need to be shorter for sure, but yeah, man. Where
You'd
were
probably
we?
want The Witcher to be even longer than it is.
I mean, The Witcher. Yeah, every time after I finish The Witcher, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of sad that it's over. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, there is so much side content there. You can always go back and do something, discover something, and it's just the best game ever made, like I said. Hey, but since we were on Call of Duty, did you see that they started to tease like Modern Warfare 3 for Call of Duty this week?
No, I haven't seen it.
They have there was like a leak for promotional materials, like a photo of some swag or something that leaked, got removed, and then they have put out the studio logo, Sledgehammer, with like the 3 SDE in the middle of the name. That kind of looks like Modern Warfare 3, you know?
Yep.
So people are, of course, asking the question, when will we see it? We've heard the rumors it's getting along pretty well. Still scheduled for this year.
Gamescom. Opening night live.
Exactly my thoughts. Exactly my thoughts, man.
Yep, that's when we'll see it.
It's
100%.
Absolutely. I think so too. It's about, like, again, we have to, now we're back on Gamescom. I'm sorry, guys, but Dutch and I, we are just so excited for it. I know people in the US have E3, but this is our E3, so
Yeah,
man, I think so too. Didn't they show gameplay, the gameplay premiere last year on Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest show stage?
yeah, I think they did. Yeah,
I think that was the world premiere thing on Jeff's. So I wouldn't be surprised if this time it's, obviously it wasn't at Summer Game Fest, but it's opening night live. It would be big for Gamescom as well. They need some bigger announcements, man. It's like the biggest event in the gaming event in the world. 400,000 people there, and usually we don't get any announcements off of it. We get like first hands-on for a lot of games that have been announced somewhere else, you know, where people and creators and the press and media actually get hands-on experiences, which is awesome, of course. But in terms of new announcements and stuff. I do hope that that Gamescom will get, especially now that E3 is gone. Yeah, we'll get some of those. So who knows? Time will tell, man. Time will tell. All right. I've one more topic I wanted to discuss with you, man. It looks like the PlayStation 5 is getting a price drop in the US, UK, and across Europe. There are a lot of rumors out there. And they are backed
That's
up.
just before they launched the $600 Spider-Man limited edition.
Exactly, and the Slim probably this fall. But a lot of promotional price drops have been spotted across the entirety of Europe, actually. And I actually checked whether that's true. In a lot of the bigger outlets have the PlayStation 5 right now on sale for $479, $450, somewhere in that ballpark. And there have been a lot of insiders that actually have quite some track record that came out that they heard that this price drop is actually coming. And so I wanted to talk to you about this, whether we think that we might see price drop, like a permanent price drop for the PS5, and of course maybe even for the Xbox Series X. We've seen price increases. Yeah, PlayStation did that like a year into the console generation. Microsoft did it 2.5 years into the console generation, where they increased the price drop. So do you see the console prices drop, maybe potentially dropping in the near future, let's say by the end of this year? Because usually 3 years into console generation, we usually get price drops, not price increases, you know?
Yeah. I don't think so. I really don't think so. They've only just put the console up. If they're going to put a price drop, it'll be because it's seasonal, not because it's actually coming down in price. So if you do see one that's temporarily reduced, then get on it. But I don't think it's going to be a permanent reduction.
Yeah, I think so too. Or I don't know. I could see if Sony, the Slim is heavily rumored. It is heavily rumored that they will bring out the PS5 Pro next year. And that would basically mean that they kind of have to bring out the Slim this year. There's still a lot of rumors going out there that they will have another showcase this year. I don't think that we will see like the next Naughty Dog game or Sucker Punch game at that. They will use it for the, what's it called, their weird ass handheld that can only do local streaming and not cloud streaming. I'm blanking on the name, sorry. You know that handheld, it looks like they cut a PS5 controller in half and super glued a smartphone in between. They will advertise that, and probably
Project Q.
Yes, exactly. That's the name. Exactly. And then they will have like lots of talk about the Slim coming. Yeah, and so I could see that the base model, just to get rid of the stores, that they might reduce that, and then the Slim becomes the new norm, which will then be again $550. And usually they do the Slims. People always assume that they do Slims because they want to make the console nicer or not. No, it's always a price thing. Yeah, after 2-3 years into the generation, you can produce the chiplet for half the size. At half the size, and basically that's half the price. With that, you can reduce, of course, cooling and everything. Just say it's cheaper to manufacture. Consoles become cheaper to manufacture over time, and that's the main reason why both Sony and Microsoft do Slims. Yeah, it's a cost thing, and so I would be surprised if Sony didn't put that out and use that, of course, then as the new standard model. But yeah, with Xbox they just increased the price, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's with PlayStation at the minute on Amazon in the UK, both the digital and the disc version are readily available.
Yeah.
The disc version $476 and the digital $389.
What is the standard price, usually regular price in the UK? Here across mainland Europe, it's 550 euros, and I know it's the same in US dollars, but I don't know what it is in pounds.
And that's what I'm saying. The standard price on Amazon, that's without a price reduction.
Okay.
On Amazon, it's £476.
Okay.
476 for the regular and $389 for the digital. It's relatively the same. Like John Lewis is $479 as well, but they've got £1 more, so $479.99. Yeah. Then I've got a few websites that I don't trust at all, so I wouldn't even quote them.
Yeah. I mean, again, the question really is they just increased the prices, especially Xbox. When was that? It was earlier this year. Like 3-4 months ago, I want to say. So I don't think that they will drop the price. I could see them follow if Sony actually does it. Of course. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think people should expect the price drops anytime soon. Inflation's still going up, so no reason to drop the price from there. But man, good talk. We are 2 hours and 20 minutes into this show, and we still have a lot of community questions to talk about. I would say let's move to them and roll the jingle. All right. People wanted the jingles back, man, so we're playing the jingles again. And this time, we figured out a way how we can make the jingles also available to our listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and wherever they are listening. So, because previously, whenever we played jingles, that's actually why we stopped using them, yeah, because we always had those weird ass silent breaks in the show. Because our listeners on Spotify and such couldn't be able to hear the jingles, so now they are back, and they are back for everyone. So that's good. All right, community questions, Dutch. Each and every Wednesday, you guys can write in questions, topics, whatever is up your mind for us to discuss here. So, first player wrote in a question. You can send in such weird questions like this. He asks, "Do these jeans make my butt look big?"
Yes.
So there you go.
Massive.
Questions answered. We're here for you guys. Massive. We answer every question if we can. Of course, if we can.
Yep.
So, Necro Ramos sends in a question, asks, "How many times did you die before defeating the Butcher in Diablo 4?
I haven't even, I think, God knows. I think the last time I actually seen the Butcher, because I've only ever seen him once, I just ran away because he was just obliterating us, but that was a long time ago. I literally haven't seen him since. He's that random that you just...
Really?
Yeah, I haven't.
I encountered it, but I gotta say I played a lot of Nightmare Dungeons. So if you play like Nightmare Dungeons on a roll, it's like. So yeah, we have to distinguish in between the Butcher in regular dungeons and the Nightmare Dungeons. Honestly, in the regular dungeons, I beat that Butcher every time with my badass sorcerer. Back when it was still a badass sorcerer, before Blizzard decided to make him a sissy throwing flowers around,
Yeah. Now he's just like a cheerleader.
Yeah.
It's like, wee.
More like, dude, grow some chest hair. We need you back. It's
Yeah.
why did Blizzard make this? Like they shot themselves so in the foot. Like my entire timeline was everyone was playing Diablo, and then the patch came out and everyone is like, oh, okay, the game is shit. I move on, and now they are playing everything else, which is totally fine. But why did Blizzard do that, man? They had to know. They kind of had to know. So now, honestly, in Nightmare Dungeons, I can't beat the Butcher. I haven't defeated the Butcher after the nerf at all. Not in Nightmare Dungeons or anywhere else. I'm just too weak now. Too weak. Like, not doing damage. The Butcher heals faster than I do damage. I can't beat him. It's impossible. So, thanks, Blizzard. Charles Wilson writes in and asks, Game Pass console without online multiplayer, that makes no sense. In my opinion, every tier in Game Pass should have online multiplayer included. A tier system rules. What are your thoughts? So, I think that we covered this a little bit last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now that we have no longer games with gold and the gold subscription, it's Game Pass Core has multiplayer. Then regular console Game Pass does not have multiplayer, but it's the higher tier. And then the third tier has multiplayer again. I don't think it's good. I think they should have those steps, like you said, include online multiplayer in the base version, only have the 25 games from Game Pass available. The next tier is like the entire Game Pass library plus multiplayer, and the highest tier is then every game, online multiplayer, xCloud, and PC. That would be a logical way to do it. But what do you think, Dutch?
Sorry, repeat that question again.
Online multiplayer, should it be available in every Game Pass tier?
Yes, well, absolutely, yeah. It's one of the things that I never understood about the way that they've got it. Like the bottom end version, and I've mentioned this again, mentioned this to Aaron. I think now they should, without doubt, have it available at least for every tier of Game Pass.
Yeah.
At minimum. No, I mean, ultimately, what we really want is for none of the tiers to have multiplayer, because multiplayer is free. That's never going to happen, because they're going to charge you for upkeep of the servers. They're not going to give you something for free.
Yeah.
And as much as people want to try and compare it to PC, PC isn't the same. It's an open ecosystem. Nobody has control over them servers.
Yeah, but many games on Xbox don't either. It's not that all these games run on.
I was going to say, even on PC, yes, you can play multiplayer online, but then people literally pay for dedicated servers every month and their upkeep, so that their communities can have better online multiplayer servers. Yeah, that's what happens on PC.
But then that's the work of the publishers. I mean, at the very end, it's only the Xbox games run on Xbox servers. Every other game runs on the publisher servers, if they have dedicated servers, of course. Yeah, there's still some weird ass multiplayer games that don't have dedicated servers, but the thing is, Xbox is like advertising this "we are an ecosystem" approach. We don't care where you play your games. Play them everywhere. We want you to play it everywhere. And I don't have to play for more. But then on one device I have to pay for multiplayer, and on the other I don't. This is just weird. It's like So I would absolutely agree with Charles Wilson. multiple tiers, but online is good. You can have 3 different tiers, but whenever you get a higher tier, things shouldn't be removed. So, yeah, just my thoughts. And I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Let us know in the chat. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. Omitoni writes in and says, okay, here it goes. Diablo 4 had the Canadian wildfires turning New York to hell. Now we've got space light signals every 22 minutes. Aliens confirmed under oath. So how big is the Starfield marketing budget?
It's massive. Yeah. Bigger than the moon.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it already a little bit earlier. Marketing campaign for Starfield, what we think it might be. But yeah, I do agree. It's gonna be massive. They will let everyone know that this game exists. I'm just not sure whether they attach it to Xbox. You know, that's the thing. You need Starfield. And every Starfield poster, you need a console. Picture of the console, not just saying available on Xbox. Like having, the picture of the console in front of you. You need to. But I'm not sure whether they do that, because then it looks like it's a console game only, which it isn't. So not sure, but it's gonna be massive.
Yeah.
Darobots Win writes in and says, do you think Xbox is buying Sega outright, just buying a 49% stake in them, or just making a strong partnership? I don't think we will see anything Sega related. I know people have been, crazy on the streets of Twitter because Microsoft, not Xbox, Microsoft, put out like little viral videos of a hedgehog. And then they renamed him to Edgehog, advertising the Microsoft Edge browser. And everyone was like, yes, Microsoft buying Sega, confirmed. I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think that they are going after Sega after this acquisition. And there are multiple reasons for that. But at the very end, what kind of benefit would Sega bring to them outside of getting some cool IPs? And I know you could say the same about Take-Two, but Take-Two got the IP. I'm not saying that they're gonna get Take-Two either, although who knows at this point. But I don't think that they will do that with Sega. Sega is the thing with Sega really is, Sega has ultra strong IP when it comes to nostalgia for people. I loved Sega back in the days, obviously. But they haven't set the world on fire for years. They bring out the occasional Sonic game, that's cool. But it's really not that they have set the world on fire. They don't bring any growth to the mobile segment. They would bring in a lot of arcade. So Sega does a lot of arcade stuff. So I'm not sure, man, whether that would be a strategic investment. Because Sega isn't cheap. So it's not like you just buy them outright. It would be also a very strong investment. And I'm not sure. Dutch, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got to agree. I mean, they've got some the pros here are that they've got a long, strong relationship from when they helped them develop the Dreamcast, and before Microsoft got into the game. The other bonus is the IP, but aside from that, I mean, it's household names, I suppose. Everyone knows Sega. And that's one benefit they've got. Another benefit that it would produce for them is Sega's still pretty big in Asian territories. So an acquisition of Sega
that is a fair point. And I see also, hang on one sec, Dutch, because people come at me in the chat, rightfully so. Yeah, Sega bought Rovio, Angry Birds, you know.
Yeah, they've just
but
been
that's a
approved
dead
for that.
game.
Actually,
Come on, even on
they've just
mobile,
been
that's a
approved for
dead
that.
game. Yeah,
believe it or not. But yeah, so yeah, I can see the benefits. That's for sure. I can definitely see the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a fair point with Sega having a strong foothold in Japan, and they definitely want to grow there. That is a fair point that I have not considered. I'm not sure if Yakuza in games like that would justify such a strong investment. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. Not saying that I do not want them to. I'm just saying I'm not sure if they will actually put in that kind of money into a publisher. Honestly, I don't think that they will go after a publisher at all after ABK. They will buy they will buy a couple of studios, individual studios. Yeah. But yeah. Not sure about the publisher thing. RSJ fan sends in a question. What are the old IPs? I would assume she means from ABK that you would like to see revived once everything is closed.
From ABK?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. Soldier Fortune's my number one.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah, Soldier Fortune. Then Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, obviously. I would like them to revive.
And a new Crash Team Racing. We had the remastered of the PlayStation 1 version, but I want a new Crash Team Racing. But including Xbox IPs.
I mean, the Xbox fundraiser is a big wish from a lot of people, including me. So I love that. I love that idea. For me, it's StarCraft Ghost. I know that game never came out, but I want them to revive that. That would be cool. Tony Hawk's definitely up there, and I would love to see Pitfall come back big time. You know.
Yep.
Maybe even give it like that, the Uncharted Tomb Raider treatment. That would be so cool. There's a lot they could do.
That'd be a good show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot they could do. Let's see if they will. But yeah, man, Dutch, I think with that we can come to an end of this show. Yeah, I think we covered most of the topics of this week. As always, man, it has been a blast. And that's not just because of you, but also because of our awesome community. So I want to say a big, big thank you to everyone who joined us here live today. You guys are so awesome. Love the conversations we have. Big thank you to everyone who listens on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are listening and you made it this far. Thank you so much for the support. I want to say a big thank you to the channel members and, of course, the super chats. We really appreciate the support you guys throw in our way. But Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you now that you have a new Twitter account.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter now, for those who used to follow me on the other account. And now don't. You can find me on Twitter at Wandering Dutch X. So that's at Wandering Dutch X on Twitter. That's my current new account. Of course, I have no idea whether I am ever going to get the other account back or not. Could be sometime if I am. So follow me on there, and of course, you can catch up with everything that we've got going. But other than that, we should be back again next week with a mid mix-up. We took this week off with Boxy preparing for his big birthday bash.
Yes.
And a few of our other guys being a little bit too occupied at the moment with other life things going on. So instead, you had a bit of Ratchet and Clank on PC and enjoyed that. So next week we'll be back with midweek mix-up, and that's it so far.
Very good stuff,
What about you?
man. Yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to a midweek mix-up next week. I'm really looking forward to the party over the weekend. Probably won't get much gaming time in. I will get a lot of guests that we had to. That the kids will be sleeping at my parents-in-law because we need the rooms. We have so many guests, so I won't be able to game much over the weekend. But I'm looking forward to it. On the other hand, we've been planning this party for far too long, and it's like a lot of work, and I'm kind of glad when it's over as well. So, yeah, that has kept me busy. So, but other than that, of course, next week, midweek mix-up and World of Gaming, maybe even with Boom Man. I hope we can bring him on the next week, but yeah, other than that, ready for Gamescom, trying to prepare a couple of things for that as well, because it's going to be an awesome time. And yeah, guys, we will see you all next week. If you need to follow Dutch on the new Twitter, link is in the description. Other than that, yeah, guys, don't forget to game on.